Catching them and reeling them in. Addicted to Luke Combs. Is that you? You addicted to Luke Combs?
I'm Dave Luke Combs, failure.
Eric Church is the man. Morgan Wallen, when he's not being racist, is also the man. He can say stupid things. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into NASCAR by the Numbers. Here we are. Action-packed show. Maybe the most action-packed show we have had, maybe ever, at least for a good while. A lot of stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of stuff that we had nowhere near planned. And then things come up. But first, I've got to ask my man over here. My man over here went to his first ever dirt track this past weekend. I work at two of them. I'm still relatively new to the dirt world, but compared to him, I'm miles ahead in knowing what dirt racing is. So
compared to me, he's like a sage in terms of wisdom on dirt tracks.
So tell me, one, how did you enjoy dirt racing? And two, what the hell is a gladiator?
Dirt racing is badass, all right? They're beating and banging. They're literally taking like just random ass cars. They're like, we're just gonna put on this dirt track and just try to go out and win.
We're gonna take random cars. We're just gonna put them out there and win, dog.
That's pretty much what it was. There was like this one. It was just like a plain. I forgot what car it was. I forgot if it was like a Honda or a Dodge. Literally.
Okay, so they ran what we would call here like a what would be like a front wheel drive car. Front wheel drive cars like old Chevy Cavaliers and Saturns and stuff like that, and they put them on the track and they're called front wheel drive class or extreme fours.
I don't know if there was front wheel drives was in the class. I don't know if that was in the class. I don't remember if that was one of the classes, but it was fun. You had like three different types of midgets. You had your late models. They had something called a gold race at the end for, I believe it was the Gladiators or the all-wheel drives, but it was badass. The final race, of all the races, these two were like, it was a 3-wide battle for the win. They were beating and banging. Two of them spun out. Another one went on the inside. It was just madness. Like, there were people spinning out left and right. It was awesome.
The racing is crazy. There's fights all the time. Up here in the upstate in the Carolinas, there's a lot of late model racing. We don't have any midget racing. We really have sprint cars, even though, like, I do some work for the Carolina Sprint, where they're getting more well-known around here. My track is big known for what's a Thunder Bomber, which is like those stock kind of cars. We have a guy in the chat says the guy on the right doesn't know what he's talking about. I tend to agree. I agree with you there. But yeah, dirt racing is badass, dude. I don't know why it took you this long to get to a track. Well, I mean, I guess it hurt in your nearest track, hour and a half away. But
exactly,
I'm going to get you up here for a weekend and us go back-to-back nights to some dirt racing at Livonia and Lawrence. It's awesome. Dirt racing is badass, but dirt racing is as grassroots as it gets. On a local level, I would rather go to a dirt race now than I would asphalt. Even though asphalt local racing is still great, go support those tracks. I just more prefer dirt at this point. But yeah, good to hear that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll get you some more dirt races. So, again, we went into this week kind of like, man, this is going to be, we're going to talk about this, talk about this, talk about that. And then people just decided, let's make this a news week. Let's just have a bomb drop every other day. So, beyond, the small things you hear, there's more things about JRM wanting to go up. You hear that everywhere. You hear Josh Berry getting an opportunity to go cup last week. You have this, you have that. One of the biggest things was that all of a sudden, and I found this out, I believe I found this out last night when Dave was on his radio show on Sirius XM, and the governor of North Carolina, or the government of North Carolina, whoever the hell made the decision, gave $10 million. The governor. They decided to give $10 million to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Why, I have no clue. Rockingham, which was kind of a shock, and North Wilkesboro, $10 million each. I believe it's already been approved. It's already going through. They're going to get that money. Kind of shocking. Came out of nowhere. What say you? You would have to think this means something is going to happen in the near future.
I'm guessing NASCAR and SMI, or whoever owns North Wilkesboro Speedway and Rockingham, they presented something to, North Carolina government. Then they liked it. So, like, all right, we're going to approve it. I know North Wilkesboro. I know the numbers in terms like what they need to get back renovating is like in the realm of $30 to $40 million. So to get at least like $10 million from the government, Marcus Smith, or Marcus Lemonis, my bad, Camper World. He's pledging $1 million to build a Camper World right next to it. Rockingham, I don't know how much money they're going to need. I believe $10 million for Rockingham should do the trick. And I don't know why Charlotte is getting $10 million either. But that was something I was not expecting at all. I mean, we've been talking about North Wilkesboro last year. If you were thinking about it last year, it didn't look like anything was going to happen. It was just going to rot in North Carolina. And it's just been building steam for the past, 12 months. And now, obviously, like I said, Marcus Lemonis pledging $1 million. Obviously, last year when we started the Pro Invitational Series, they had their season finale at North Wilkesboro when iRacing scanned the track. That's kind of where it all began. And obviously now this $10 million push is big for a track like North Wilkesboro. Rockingham, like I said, it just needs a little bit of juice, and then it should be back up and running soon. I mean, they had a truck race not even 10 years ago over there. But the main attraction is going to be North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. Charlotte, I'm not really sure why. Maybe they're going to work on some kind of improvements. Maybe they could have just given that money to, I don't know, the other track. But at the end of the day, this is a big deal. A lot of people are asking Dave Moody about this and that, and he pretty much said what the smartest thing to say. I have no clue what's going to happen. I have no clue if this is going to lead to anything that we want it to lead to, but you don't just get $10 million from the governor for nothing. There's had to be requests put in. There has to be plans. You don't just get handed money. A lot of people get handed money through politics. Racetracks are not one of them. You've got to present something of value, and I think I would have not pictured Rockingham. I kind of thought, I'll be honest, lately, weird to say this, but I almost would put more likely to go to a race at Wilkesboro than I would Rockingham. Even though Rockingham does have the Cars Tour this year, it'd be great to have both of them. Both of them should be on the schedule if we can get them there and think this is a realistic possibility. I think two birds with one stone. The most common thing to do is make Wilkesboro a all-purpose dirt track. You get it back on the schedule, and we don't have to waste $2-3 million every single time to cover and uncover Bristol with dirt. So to me, that logistically makes sense. Now, NASCAR oftentimes doesn't use common sense. So I have no clue if that will be the case. The comment section is awesome. I have no clue if that will be the case. But at the end of the day, it makes sense. Renovating Wilkesboro, make it a dirt track, make it an old school facility. 30,000, 40,000 people can go to it, and let's roll on with it. Let's get it on the schedule. Rockingham the same way. You're gonna have to do a lot of safety upgrades. Obviously, it's gonna be asphalt. But hey, let's get both of them on the schedule. That would be huge, and that'd be the fans have wanted them. They swear they're going to come out. I don't know about all that, but it would be cool to have some.
Let me ask you a question. Let's say Rockingham and North Wilkesboro were to be added to the schedule. It looks like Rockingham is probably going to be turned into a dirt track. So they'll probably replace one of the Bristol races, assuming, now obviously they did it this year. It was restricted with fans. And next year, might be different. My boy knows in the chat. My boy knows in the chat.
74, baby.
Facts. So might replace one of the Bristol races. What race do you think Rockingham would take from one track?
Wilkesboro is probably a dirt track. I don't think it should take any of the short tracks. It should either replace a Kansas race, or a Vegas race, or an Atlanta race. I'm fine with Darlington having two, but if you had to sacrifice one and we only run the Southern 500, I'd accept that. But we can use better alternatives. Kansas, Vegas, Texas. Get Texas off the schedule. They're going to go there at least once, but get them off the schedule twice. There's room. They just can't be signing these silly-ass contracts with these teams or these tracks and saying, we're going to give you 2 dates a year. Like, your racing sucks for the most part. We're going to go there once, and then we're going to go to a more badass place once all there. So both of them could be on there. You shouldn't have to replace a Bristol race. We need more short tracks. Bristol twice, Martinsville twice, Richmond, who cares? Go to Wilkesboro. I mean, that's already 6. Then we're working on the one in Fontana. Let's go to it twice. Let's get 10 short track races on the schedule. We don't have to have 6 or 7 and think that's enough. We could cut a road course race or 2, put a short track. I think the fans are happy with 4 road courses. To me, it's fine. One's a street course, 3 are traditional road courses. Let's call it a day. Let's wash our hands. Let's put some short tracks on the schedule. That's how I look
I
at it.
agree with that.
Now,
I agree with that.
for you, before we roll on, you had to pick one, Wilkesboro as a dirt track or Rockingham coming back. What are you picking?
I think I'd go with Wilkesboro, just to have an all-purpose. Wilkesboro's had more hype for it as of late. Rockingham's been kind of, left to the side. Rockingham, I feel like there's always going to be some. I don't think it's ever going to get abandoned in the sense that Wilkesboro's gotten abandoned. Just have a track that's been in NASCAR since the beginning, return to the schedule, and even as a dirt track, going more into NASCAR's roots as it is, I think that'd be a better storyline. I think there'd be better racing, in sense of a dirt, because obviously we've only been to dirt one time in the past 51 years. So I think going to taking North Wilkesboro as a dirt track would be the better option, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd go that route too. I just think it'd be a bigger attraction. It'd be a bigger kind of calamity, really eye-popping on the schedule, hot ticket. I feel like it would be just a better place between the two. All-purpose dirt track, two birds with one stone. Rockingham kind of just solves one. Rockingham's really, people just want it for nostalgia. It is a different layout. It is at a variety to the schedule, but it's more of a nostalgia thing. North Wilkesboro is not only nostalgia, it's a short track, it's dirt racing potentially, it's everything. So it would be really cool for me to have North Wilkesboro. But another big piece of news, perhaps the biggest piece of news that came out of this week, is another driver looking into potential ownership of a Cup Series team. We're all sitting kind of minding our own business, and I think it was Tuesday, all of a sudden reports drop, I believe from Jim Utter, that Brad Keselowski is in serious conversations with Roush Fenway Racing to become a part-time owner, or be a part of an ownership group to form, I think, Roush Fenway Keselowski or RFK Racing. But Keselowski is an owner driver involved in that organization and team and Ford racing and all that kind of stuff. Kind of come out of nowhere. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think about Keselowski? Do you think it happens? What do you think about it when it does happen?
I think Keselowski is probably going to try to take advantage of, I guess, the reset that's going to come with the next gen car. That's why he might be thinking about, jumping on board. It's kind of known at this point. I think Keselowski's done with Penske. Him and Logano, they don't get along. Roger, for some reason, doesn't seem keen on giving Keselowski a long-term contract for whatever reason. I mean, the dude wins over 3 races for the past, 5-6 years. And he doesn't want to give him a long-term contract. So I think Keselowski, he's trying to build his future in the sport, not just as a driver, but he wants to leave his legacy. So I think that's why he's going for Roush. Would it be a good move? It's hard to say because Roush is a weird team. One year they'll be on the up and up, like in 2019, where Ryan Newman had 14 top 10s, made the playoffs, and then we'll have a year like 2020 where they just completely fall off a cliff. Same thing with this year. They seem like they're starting to be on the up and up again. They're very inconsistent, it seems like. So it's interesting to see, Keselowski. I mean, it's assumed he's going to take Ryan Newman's spot. I don't think they're going to drop Buescher. So, but it'd be very interesting to see how how Keselowski, especially even, is that going to affect his performance on the track, being an owner and a driver. I remember I mentioned that a couple months ago about how that might affect Denny Hamlin, driving the 11 car for Joe Gibbs, but at the same time, dealing with the day operation at 2311. Obviously, that's not hurting Hamlin. So maybe Keselowski could do better at Roush. Maybe he can bring that program up, but we've seen it. Even we said that with Ryan Newman in 2019. And then, I know obviously what happened with him in 2020 for Ryan Newman was kind of like a fluke. But even in 2021, he's I think sitting 19th in points. So, like I said, Roush has kind of just been inconsistent. So let's see what happens. It'd be very interesting to see, what Keselowski could do at Roush Racing.
Yeah, I think it would be a great move all around. I think it's one, Keselowski the last couple of years he's always been kind of an enigma, but really in the last couple of years where you just really don't know how does he feel? Does he really want to be where he's at? Does he feel fulfilled in what he's doing? In all intents and purposes, he's the lead guy at Penske, or at least he should be. He's got a championship. I know Logano does, but he had one first. He's done a lot more first at Penske than anybody else has. He has the most wins of the 3 there. He's really led that team for a handful of years. And I think it's gotten to the point where, for a good while, Brad was big brother and Joey was little brother. Well, now little brother is just as big as big brother. And they both expect the same kind of treatment. Ryan Blaney's still kind of behind both of them. And I think Brad, there's been moments over the last year, just like the Daytona 500 this year, where they wreck each other. There's been moments where you can openly see and hear Brad's frustration with his own organization. And I think this is a great way. Brad's always kind of seemed to have that business acumen. He had the truck team, then now he has his own kind of machine kind of team or business that he does. He always seems like that kind of guy that you could see get involved in the sport in some role. I like Brad's personality. I like that he's free to say whatever he wants. I wish he would do it more. He doesn't do it as much as he used to. But Brad, I think, like you said, Brad's a big legacy guy. His family's been around the sport for a long time. I think he wants to keep it that way. And what a great role to get into it. I'm curious how well it'll be. I don't think it can hurt by any means. I don't think it'll get any worse. But you kind of want to compare this to Stewart-Haas. But remember, Tony Stewart brought some big sponsorship with him. Mobil One, Office Depot. I think it was a Staples, or one of them was. I can't remember the other one. There was another one that he brought on. And our Old Spice. Remember, it was Old Spice and Office Depot. And that was huge sponsorship. Keselowski already has issues with sponsorship. Remember, his car used to be strictly Miller Lite. They run one time a year now. And 4 or 5, 6 sponsors. And that, to me, is going to be a big deal. If Brad was bringing Miller Lite with him or Discount Tire to a full season, that'd be a completely different idea. You'd say, yeah, this could be like a Stewart-Haas situation. In fact, like somebody was talking to Dave Moody about, Roush Fenway is miles ahead of what Haas was. Haas was running 30th every week. Roush Fenway, there's a car that's in the playoffs right now, and both cars are in contention for the playoffs. So I think it'd be a great move. I think he would get a lot out of those cars. Probably would cost Ryan Newman. But I predicted at the beginning of the year that there was going to be a shakeup at Roush. I had both drivers getting out of there. Busher has probably secured his gig. I predicted that Newman retires. So maybe Newman goes to a part-time role. It just kind of feels like it's time. Newman's been putting around now for about 3 years. It's kind of time for him to kind of see what that next role is. I heard a fan call in Dave Moody and say, why don't they make him an engineer? That'd be genius. I don't know if he'd want to do that. But remember, Ryan Newman's got an engineering degree. He's very smart in that kind of realm. So I would use him as an asset for sure, and let him, play a role in that team as well. But big news. I think it's great. We've seen there's so much interest in owning a Cup team right now, and which is incredible. So, Junior Motorsports, Colleague we know is going. 2311 announced today they're probably going to a second car next year, bringing DraftKings in as a sponsor. Just wild stuff that, we just haven't seen in a while. And it's a good buzz, and hopefully it continues. And I think it's going to happen. If I'm putting money on it, I'm betting it happens. When Bob Pocker says it's most likely happening, they just haven't announced it yet. I pretty much say, all right, that's happening. They've had conversations with Brad. They've had conversations with Roush Fenway ownership organization. Brad's going to be a part owner of that team, and that's down the road. So going into our next topic, finally, some usual stuff around here. This week we got a new game we're starting. It's called Featured or Bleachered. So if fans watch Door Bumper Clear, they play this game where it's spot on or spot off. If something is spot on, they kind of agree with it. It's a good thing. Spot off, they disagree with it, or it wasn't necessarily a great thing. This week it's featured or bleachered. You did something good, you're featured. You deserve to be discussed. You deserve to be featured. Let's talk about you. You do something bad, you're bleachered, which means you probably need to sit your ass down. You probably shouldn't be driving a race car. And wearing a sleeve, does he play? I gave Armany's wearing an arm sleeve right now for everybody, just so you know. And it is whack. But anyway.
We're bringing that as a style bag. That's what's happening.
Yeah, he's bringing a style bag that doesn't exist. But anyways, so first, they're kind of to preview Dover, just to kind of the Dryden 400 was this past weekend. I got to watch majority of the race. Decent race. Hendrick was fast. Hendrick had a 1, 2, 3, 4 finish. Top 5, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Joey Logano. So 3 topics. And you're either going to be featured or bleachered. You either want to talk about them and praise them, or you want to sit there ass down in the bleachers. You shouldn't be driving the car. Topic number 1. Kyle Larson leads 263 laps and finishes second. I believe this is the 6th time he has led 200-plus laps and lost the race. Armani, featured or bleachered?
I'm still going to say featured for one reason only. The Hendrick cars were so equal that the race came down on the pit road, and that 48 team, they put in the fastest pit stop of the season. There's really nothing Larson could have done. the Gen 6 car, I feel like Dover is one of the tracks where it just shows how bad it is no matter what package we got, whether it's the 750 low downforce or the 750 high downforce or 550 or whatever. So, I mean, Larson is still showing the same amount of speed that he's always had. He's always going to be a threat at, pretty much any race that we go to. It's already been established. He is one of the championship favorites, despite only having one win on the season. So I still say featured. Again, there's really nothing Larson could have done.
You got a bunch of people here coming in the chat, don't you?
Facts. Promise it here.
So, again, people that are new in here, featured bleacher. Kyle Larson leads 263 laps for the second time history. Bleachered, sit your ass down, son, if you're not going to win a race. This would be different if this is his first time. I understand he lost it on pit road. Guess what? Pit road is part of this game. This is different if this is the first or second time he's done this. This is the sixth time Kyle Larson has led the most laps, I believe, in all races, over 200 laps in every single one of those races, and lost the race. We just talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. Dude's got to learn to close the deal. And I get it. This week really wasn't his fault. I understand that. Now, if this happened to Chase Elliott, I'd hear the end of the world of it, right? Because that's just how the world works. Kyle Larson, you can't touch.
You ain't hearing the end of it because he's not in contention this year.
He can do whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. But by God, if you don't praise Kyle Larson for being the greatest driver that has put this on green earth, you are a hater. All right? And at the end of the day, Bleachered, sit your ass down if you're not going to win the race. 6 times. He should have 3-4 wins this year. He's got one. And he's probably led the most laps this year of anybody. So, one win. Thank you. You proved my point. Second topic. Hendrick Motorsports becomes the 3rd team ever in history. First time, obviously, in their team history. Finish 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. All 4 cars finish 1st through 4th. What say you? Featured or bleachered?
That's featured. I mean, Hendrick Motorsports last 2-3 years have just been terrible, abysmal. Chase has been putting the team on the back. Jimmy's been non-existent. And now you got all 4 cars in the top 4 leading laps. Chase coming from the back to finish 3rd. Probably the highest he's ever going to finish all season. But that was just a statement. But that was a statement by HMS. Like, I haven't seen an ass smacking by just any kind of team like that since Talladega with Stuart Haas racing back in 2018. And even then, I think they only got like 2 cars in the top 10.
Yeah, they again, it's only Dover. That's my only thing. It's only Dover. They have a really good package for Dover. They're not going to do this at other places, but 100% featured, huge deal. It's crazy to think that Hendrick has never done this before. It shows you how hard it is to do this. Joe Gibbs Racing has never done this. It shows you how difficult it is. The 3rd team ever in NASCAR history to have drivers finish 1st through 4th. They've had a bunch of 1-2s and all that kind of stuff, but 1st through 4th is crazy. Huge accomplishment for HMS and Hendrick. Definitely featured. And last topic tonight, featured or bleacher to finish our Dryden 400 Dover review. Daniel Suarez finishes 9th. And Bubba Wallace finishes 11th. The best battle between Trackhouse and we have seen this far. Armani, featured or bleachered?
Featured. I got Trackhouse making the playoffs. Suarez finishing 9th, getting a second top 10 of the season. Obviously, that's going to do great wonders. I still believe they're within a race worth of points to make the playoffs. They got the top 10 speed. They just got to be a little more consistent with it. Knock out some top 15, some more top 10s, and then they'll be in. They just got to overcome some guys like I believe they got to overcome Newman, Stenhouse. I think they'll be good to make the playoffs. They just got to get some more consistency together. And Bubba Wallace looks like they finally learned how to put a race together. Yeah, they finished 11th. It's their first top 15 of the season. But to see that they had the speed to run top 15 and to finally close it out, that's a welcome sight for 23-11. I think that's going to be a pretty good momentum booster until you realize we're going to Circuit of the Americas. Bubba Wallace is probably going to finish 35th, running 38th all race.
He'll finish 28th.
28th is a win for Bubba Wallace at a road course. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think there's no way to look at this but featured. Bubba and them still got to work on closing the deal, but a lot better, closing the deal than we've seen this year. to see both of these teams. I know they both have alliances. I understand they've got some pretty good funding behind them. But to see these teams this new, running fairly well is cool to see. And seeing them battle and mix it up, they battled each other for a good portion of the race. Bubba looked like he had speed. Daniel has had speed multiple times this year. They haven't always had the finishes. So nothing but featured right there. Thumbs up right there. Great for those teams, and I hope they obviously keep running that way. But as you had mentioned, perfect segue to our next discussion. This week's a big week. Now, are you working Sunday?
Unfortunately.
Of course you are. When, of course, I think there's a big forecast of rain to come in at some point. Not only is the GOAT Paul Menard making a return to the Truck Series on Saturday.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
We'll find out today. I get to watch it. The GOAT is going to go out there, run top 5, if not win the damn thing. All right. As we go to COTA this weekend, Circuit of the Americas. If you're unfamiliar with that, that's the same place Formula One races and the American Grand Prix every year. First time ever. A lot of people are saying it's going to be very difficult. Turn 1 may be the most dangerous corner in the entire sport. They said even iRacing, people are slipping, sliding, spinning, and doing everything everywhere. What say you? We are both hype about COTA. We're both excited. This is something me and you discussed at the beginning of the year. This is one me and you have both had circled on our calendars. Obviously, you never get to watch the race, so you knew you weren't probably going to get to watch it. I'm going to get to hopefully watch every single lap of it. What say you? How excited are you? And what do you think NASCAR going to COTA means for the future?
NASCAR to COTA, I mean, it should have happened a long time ago. COTA is a state-of-the-art facility. NASCAR needs to go to more state-of-the-art facilities. So it's good to see. Of all the road courses we got on the schedule, COTA, I believe, was one that should have been on the schedule, no matter what, even though we got like 7 of them. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be – I know it's a Formula One design road course, but you got a lot of hard braking zones. You got a lot of long straightaways that are perfect for stock cars. I think it's going to be I don't know exactly what kind of racing we're going to get because, again, we've never raced at Circuit of the Americas before. We really don't have anything that we can, base it off of. Like, when we go to Road America, we can base off the Xfinity Series. So it's kind of hard to, figure out what kind of racing we're going to get. But I'm super excited, man. This is the first – I believe this is the first new track, not kind of Bristol dirt, because we always go to Bristol. This is the new just straight-up facility track that we have gotten since, I believe, the Lord of all tracks, the promised land itself, Kentucky Speedway back in 2011. Rest in peace.
God, let's not speak about it. Oh, man. This week is a big week. I think anytime we add a new venue to the Cup Series, anytime we add a new venue to the sport, but especially the Cup Series, now we've got all 3. Huge deal. I think we have the chance to put on a great race this weekend, or great races this weekend. Also, there's part of it's got to be international recognition. This is the biggest American internationally known road course in the country, and it's a huge deal. Armany's showing his hairline to all his buddies who are in the chat. Awesome. But this is something that is a big deal, international presence, in my opinion. And maybe this opens the door for more ringers. We keep on saying, what's it going to take Lewis Hamilton to come Cup racing? What's it going to take a big-time Formula One driver to come over here and run? Maybe this opens that door. I think it would be huge for one of those guys to come to a place, especially a place they have laps on. This could open the door for ringers. Look who already – Paul Menard, the GOAT's coming back. I believe Boris Said is already coming back to be in one of the races this weekend. I mean, maybe we see more and more guys who want to run this place that never have or never got to do it in a stock car come around here and make some laps, run some races, and maybe compete. So I think
hold on. We got a comment in the chat. What's worse, Armany's laugh or Chase Elliott? I mean, it's obviously Chase. The man hasn't even won yet this year, and he's a defending champion. Can't even win a race for crying out loud.
How many races have you won?
Same amount as Chase has this year.
Enough said. So, it's the Echo Park, Texas Grand Prix. NASCAR does have a Grand Prix this weekend.
That's just weird. That's weird to hear NASCAR having a Grand Prix.
It is weird, but, that's what you get sometimes. So here we are. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out on a limb. But who do you have? Who is winning in the Cup Series debut in the Echo Park, Texas Grand Prix from Circuit of the Americas this Sunday?
All right. So, my pick – I just finished roasting this guy, but ever since the schedule was announced, I'm just like, This dude is probably going to win. I don't know why. COTA, there's like 2 tracks that I think this guy is going to definitely win at this year. COTA is one of them. I think Chase Elliott is finally going to get his first win of 2021.
How are you a hater and then pick the dude to win?
Same ways that I blasted Larson after Kansas and picked him to win Darlington.
Her face and then trying to hit on her. Listen, not a terrible pick. Who's probably going to win the race is probably going to be like Martin Truex Jr. I'm going to go out on a limb, though. This is the riskiest pick of the season.
Oh, no, this guy's real risky. More risky than my picks. More risky than my picks.
Potentially the riskiest pick in NASCAR.
We gotta hear this.
NASCAR by the numbers.
This better be John Hunter Nemechek making the playoffs.
History. No, that was a prediction. This is a race-winning pick. Different. Most risky race-winning pick in NASCAR by the numbers history. Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
Let me hear it.
I'm going to so regret this when this dude finishes like 30th this weekend.
Let me hear it.
Austin Cindric is winning his first ever Cup race this weekend. He's not only going to race the race before, he'll probably win the Xfinity race. He's going to be in a Penske car, and he's going to drive the wheels off the thing and go win a Cup race as a part-timer, fulfilling my prediction that either Chase Briscoe or Austin Cindric will win a race as a rookie.
I'm not gonna lie, I was fully expecting you to say something stupid like Ryan Preece or Stenhouse.
Yeah, I'm not an idiot.
You said riskiest of the season.
This is. I'm picking a part-timer to win in his 5th Cup start.
Okay, he nearly won a damn Xfinity race in his first start.
These are Xfinity cars.
I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad pick.
We've been dealing on Saturdays, son. Austin Cindric's winning it.
All right.
Fulfill my request to rotate you at road. There we go. So now we can move on from that. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of tonight's show. The final topic, the one we've been wanting to do. Armani wanted to do this 2 weeks ago. I said, you got to calm down, dog. You got to calm down.
What do you mean calm down?
People don't realize, if you haven't been counting, we are now 13 races through the regular season. 13 is half of 26. 26 is the number of races in the regular season. I just want to lay out all the math here just so we know it, all right?
The only time you'll ever hear us ever be good at math.
Exactly, even though we're supposed to be by the numbers.
Yeah, go up, go. Yeah, facts.
So now you have all my little notes here. We are going to discuss if it ended today, who would make the playoffs, where do people sit. We're also going to talk about comers and goers. There were some guys that started out really, really bad. They've worked themselves into position. There were some guys that started off pretty damn good, and they've worked themselves out of position for the playoffs. So we're going to discuss that. But first, let's look at the playoff grid. So far we have 10 drivers that are locked into the postseason. Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, William Byron, Joe Logano, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, and Michael McDowell. That would leave right now, for the end of the day, 6 spots on points. Right now, here's who would make it on points, and here's the margin. Denny Hamlin, he's above the line by 293 points. He might as well virtually be in. There's guys on here that ain't even scored 293 points yet. All right, just so people know that. Chase Elliott, he would be 151 points above the cut. Kevin Harvick is 146 points above the cut. Austin Dillon, 60 points above the cut. Chris Buescher's 28 points above, and Tyler Reddick is 17 above. Now, do you also have the grid?
No, I don't got the grid.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Below, I always like to go with the first 4 out because that's the 4 most likely to make a jump. Matt DiBenedetto sits 17th right now, 17 points out. Kurt Busch is 18th, 30th points out. Ricky Stenhouse is 19th, 32 points back. And Ryan Newman sits 20th, 38 points back. Now, before we talk about the comers and goers and guys that have moved here, moved back, and done well or done terrible, just looking at the 16 drivers that would make it right now, are there any surprises to you for guys that you probably didn't expect to be here?
Buescher is surprising to me, obviously. He was like 18th or 19th at points, I believe, this time of the season. So to see him make that step up, obviously. Ryan Newman still being in the picture, I didn't expect that. I thought he'd be around 22nd, 23rd. Stenhouse, I think he's what do you say, 18th or 20th?
He's 19th, 32 points out.
Stenhouse still being in the picture. I'm still surprised to see that also. Austin Dillon being plus 60 above the cut. And we'll get to this, obviously, when we talk about, our guys who have done good and our guys who have done bad. But Tyler Reddick, to have even that little bit of a cushion that he does is pretty damn impressive, especially considering how we started the year.
Obviously, I think the first surprise is either Hamlin, Elliott, and Harvick are all three not technically locked in. Hamlin, it's going to take a miracle for probably either three of them to not make it, Hamlin especially. Hamlin has almost double the cushion that they have. Almost a 300-point cushion, which, again, there are guys in the playoffs right now who have not scored 300 points. So just so people know that. That's pretty impressive.
300.
Chris Buescher, I just didn't he's had a couple of runs. I know I didn't get to watch Homestead, but he ran great at Homestead. He's had moments this past weekend he looked good. But you just didn't think they ran that well to have, to be in by a decent little chunk of points. Now, again, 13 races to go. There's so much that can happen. Odds are one or two of these guys are not going to be in. So what would you say right now, again, before we discuss comers and goers, looking – how me and you look at it. The first four in are Harvick, Dillon, or the last four in, Harvick, Dillon, Buescher, Reddick. The first four out, DiBenedetto, Kurt Busch, Stenhouse Jr., Newman. If you had to pick one driver to fall out and one driver to jump in on each side, who are you picking?
To fall out, the easy one is to say Buescher. I know Reddick is only 16th on the grid, but Reddick, he's been on a roll as of late. He's got a couple top 10s under his belt. Buescher, we haven't really seen as consistently finishing inside the top 10 as Reddick has, so I think Buescher would be the one to fall out. Another one to fall out, I wouldn't be surprised if Austin Dillon falls out. I know he's been very consistent, but, we saw with Jimmy Johnson last year. He was consistently inside the top 16, but a couple, 3-race stretch where he just doesn't do well, and the next thing you know, he's on the bubble. So I can see that exact same thing happening to Austin Dillon. Going in, my two picks are going to be Matt DiBenedetto and Kurt Busch, but I trust DiBenedetto to make it in over Kurt Busch. Stenhouse makes too many mistakes. Newman, I don't think he's really gotten in him anymore to, overcome some of these drivers. Kurt Busch, I'm surprised he's even on the outside looking in. Ganassi has just not been good at all this year, especially when Chastain was 25th in points, I believe. So Kurt Busch, I wouldn't be surprised if he misses the playoffs. And DiBenedetto, like with Reddick, we'll talk about a little bit later, but he's been quietly putting, trying to get back on track, after dismal start to the season. So I would probably put DiBenedetto and Kurt in and take out Dillon and Buescher.
We were only supposed to pick one, so I'm going to stick.
Well, I picked two anyway.
I'm going to stick to the rules and pick one because I'm going to be a rule follower here. You're just all over the place.
I picked front row Joe Jr. to make the playoffs. Are you surprised?
We see how that went. So I think I'm kind of along the lines with you. I think I would have to put Buescher. Now, I could easily see Reddick falling out, but RCR seems to have that program together right now better than Roush is. It's been very vocal about how Chevrolets work together. Richard Childress Racing and Hendrick have the ECR engine package. That's been doing a lot of things. Chevrolet has shown a lot more power. So right now, I would just have more faith in an RCR car than a Roush car. But Buescher has impressed. Jumping in, talent-wise, it should be Kurt Busch. But I'm with you. I think DiBenedetto, he's been more consistent as of late, top 15, top 20. Obviously, they made it last year. So they've proven they can do it. Kurt probably should of that group, but I would pick Matt too. He's been really on a roll as of late. We're going to talk about him here in just a little bit, I'm sure. So me and you, I think, are on the same page kind of in that direction. So one of the things we wanted to talk about is a lot of things have shifted. A lot of guys that would have been in or would have been out or who you would have predicted 6-7 weeks ago are completely different a month ago. There were guys that you were like, there's no way. This guy's going to have to win. So let's start with guys that have really moved forward, who have kind of changed their season over the last month and a half. Who are, I have two drivers picked. Do you also have two for each category?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to get you go first, and I'll go, then we'll hit on our second one. So who do you have first in line for drivers that have changed their season for the positive, Mark, who have moved forward to making the playoffs?
My two drivers are Tyler Reddick and Matt DiBenedetto. Reddick, I believe, after Homestead was like 26th, 27th in points. We thought he was going to have a sophomore slump type of season. And now at race 13, he's 15th on the playoff grid. He's got a decent little cushion. And Reddick's really turned his season around. At the beginning of the year, it looked like, he wasn't going to get anywhere. He looked like he was having the sophomore slump. And like I said, he's been slowly putting together some pretty decent runs. I believe he's got back-to-back top 10s. I love this chat. So I think Reddick, he's done a tremendous job to, come back. I think Reddick, RCR's really stepped up that program. It's nice to see that 8 car, get those results that the 3 car has been getting also. And Matt DiBenedetto, same thing. He started terrible to the year, and I believe he had a consistency of like 2 top 10s. He's got 3 on the season now. He's in the playoff hunt, whereas before he was like 25th in the points. So Matt DiBenedetto and Tyler Reddick have done really well to help their playoff hosts. Let's see if one of them blows their backs and then they're out.
This chat is crazy. Anyways, me and you both have the same drivers for guys that have come in here. This chat is stupid. First one is Matt DiBenedetto. So after 4 races in the season, Matt DiBenedetto sat 30th in points. He has now had 7 top 15, or he had 7 top 15s in a row between Phoenix and Kansas. That is what has moved him into this position. Now he has obviously moved up from 30th to 17th in points, 17 points out. Obviously moving 13 positions in the last handful of weeks, 2 months. He's definitely put himself in a position to where we were saying a while ago him to find a way to the playoffs. He's got to win a race, something I'm telling you he's not going to do. But here he is, flirting with the playoffs again. And again, we just agreed. Would not be surprised if he makes it. Again, also Tyler Reddick. So after 6 races, he was 28th in points. Over the last 7 starts, he has finished 20th or better. In 6 out of 7 of those starts, he has finished 12th or better. In 6 out of the 7 of his last, obviously 7 starts. That has been a huge turnaround for that team. And obviously has put him in a position where he's in the playoffs right now. He went from 28th in points to in the playoffs. That's incredible. Lastly, and then we're going to get out of this crazy show with crazy chat going on. That have moved back, who have kind of lacked what they've needed and fallen off course. And now they looked like they were going to be guys that could maybe flirt with the playoffs, and now they have fallen out of the picture. Who you got?
My guys are Kurt Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I'll make this quick. Kurt Busch, he had like 2 top 10s to start the year, 3 races, and then ever since
oh man, I hope y'all are reading this chat. If you were watching, please watch this chat. Oh man, please finish. Oh.
I'll make this quick. Kurt Busch, he went from having 2 top 10s in 3 races, looking like one of the top Chevy teams, to just falling off a cliff. He hasn't finished in the top 10, I believe, since Homestead. He's had a dismal start to the year, dismal continuation to the year. Ganassi, like I said before, just been abysmal. Kurt Busch is outside the playoff picture. Chastain, besides the Daytona 500, Talladega has been non-existent. I think he probably has pissed off more drivers than he has lead lap finishes up until this point. So it's just crazy to see what Ganassi – I mean, Kurt Busch is usually the guy that is carrying Ganassi, especially after Larson left. And just to see that program just fall is just crazy to think about. It makes me think there is a good
we're never allowing this in the chat again.
Let me get on to Stenhouse. Stenhouse, in my opinion, I never expected him to be in the playoff conversation to begin with. But he was like top 15 in points for like the first 6-7 races of the season. And I knew Stenhouse was going to, once he had that one bad race, he was going to fall off a cliff. And that's what happened. I believe it was Talladega. He had a one bad race and he fell from 15th down to 18th in points. So there is one. So I'm not, obviously he went from being in the playoffs, so obviously now he doesn't look like he's going to win a race to make it in. But it's more surprising to see Okay, I'm done. I can't with the damn shit.
I just saw your name. I saw your tag name. But anyways, my two drivers are Kurt Busch and Ryan Preece. Kurt Busch is 18th in points, 30 points out. After 3 races, he was 6th in points. Now, obviously, it's been 10 weeks since then. A lot of things have happened. He has finished 13th or worse in his last 10 starts. He has not even sniffed the top 10 in his last 10 races. Obviously, those races are after the first 3. He has been dismal.
Really?
Remember, he started out the season fast. I mean, he looked fast.
Yeah.
And he just dropped like a rock. And then Ryan Preece, we kind of saw this coming, but he is not even in the picture now. At one point, he was, through 5 races, he was still 14th in points. He started out the year, I think he was top 5 in points after the first 2 or 3 races. Was still in top 15 after a handful of races. He's had 1 top 15 finish since. So that has been crazy. He has fallen out completely. Oh, man. We got – all right. We're ending the show here. I hope y'all kept up with the chat. We are roasting Armany here with his baby beard. He's apparently about to go get his back blown out by somebody or something or some weights. I don't really know. But
I'm about to tear my back.
By the numbers, and we appreciate everybody watching, tuning in. I don't know if half the people watch due to NASCAR or interest at all in racing, but at least we had a good time at it. We will see y'all next week.